Hello, and welcome back to Foos Entertainment. Now, I will tell you, there is a fan that I work with that did not want me to review these films. But I'll be honest with you, it's my channel. I can do what I want. And these two films, starting with this one on this video that I'm about to review, nobody ever talks about these movies. No one. And I don't understand why nobody talks about these films, because they're great films. Now, obviously, it's dark in this room, so I can't read the words because I always make them so small on the back of the snap cases, but I can definitely show you it. Yeah, you guessed it. I'm reviewing 1996's Trainspotting. This is the Criterion Collection release. The funny thing about this, before I get into it, I was actually trying to get the 4K version. Now, there's still a 4K scan on this, but it's not the 4K version. As like, I kind of sad there, but I didn't realize until after I get home, and I had to drive out of my town that I live in to go ahead and get stuff like this. But with that said, this was definitely a fun and probably the best I've ever seen this old classic. All right, well, because like I said, it's too dark in this room to be able to read unless I want to put a flashlight on or turn all these lights up to 100%, which I really don't want to do. It's a pain in the ass to do that. Basically, Trainspotting is based off of a book of the same name. It's basically about a bunch of Scottish friends who have a drug issue with heroin. And it's also kind of like a redemption story on the main character of Mark Rinden, played by Ewan McGregor, who wants to get away from the smack, as I like to call it, or heroin. And so shows him descent into madness again, back on heroin, but then it shows him getting off heroin and bettering his life. But unfortunately, his troubled previous life just won't let him move on, and it follows him wherever he goes. And then at that point, it becomes a heist film to where his old friends are trying to go ahead and, because they came across a whole bunch of heroin, they want to go ahead and sell it and make a profit. And in doing so, he finds a way to disappear by the end of the film by ripping off his friends and taking the dough and running away. Now, now there's so many cool things to be said about the references in this movie. Like, for example, the whole gag of "What's life?" I really like that. And you can go ahead and use that for anything. Sorry, it's not "What's life?" It's "Choose life." Yeah, the whole quotes of "choose life." Now everybody knows where "choose life" came from. It's like, for example, I'll just go ahead and take a crack at it. Choose a cheap 4K television and save yourself money from buying a higher end one. Choose yourself a better sound system that doesn't sound like shit. It makes you wonder why you bought the setup in the first place. Choose physical media because the internet is not guaranteed. It could go out at any time. Choose life. Granted, I'm picking on technology and movies and stuff, but that's kind of what the choose life sort of thing that Mark Rinden does very, very well, is he picks on society and picks on all these memes of society and picks on what society considers to be normal and just picks on it and makes fun of it, using the word choose at the beginning of it, and then at the very end, choose life. I always thought that was kind of catchy. And when it comes to the first film, Trainspotting, it's just picking on society. It doesn't really mean anything. He's just picking on society. And the characters in this in this film are just so iconic. There's so many iconic scenes in this movie. There's so many interesting facts about how they made a lot of this stuff. Like, for example, the very, very, very disgusting scene where he's going to the worst restroom in Scotland, and we're made to believe that, you know, it's a bunch of feces and diarrhea all over the place. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. But when you read about how they made that scene, it's actually interesting because all of that supposed diarrhea and shit that's over the place is not diarrhea or feces at all. It's actually chocolate. So they actually made that scene out of putting chocolate over the place. Kind of interesting. A little bit about the director, Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle would go ahead to create a bunch of wonderful films. Dog Billionaire, which he won an Oscar for. He also is responsible for the sequel, T2 Trainspotting, which I will be reviewing after this, which I think is an even better movie than Trainspotting. That's just my opinion. Like I said, it's my opinion. Some people might object to that. And of course, his most famous films people know him by, 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, 28 Years Later, and I believe he was involved in 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. But yeah, wonderful director. Very wonderful Scottish director. Makes a lot of wonderful things. And he's probably directed a lot of other films that I would like, but those are the ones I know about. This would launch the career, believe it or not, of two of the best British actors. Three, actually. Three of the best British actors. Ewan McGregor. He was still kind of a new kid on the block at the time. He got a lot more work after Trainspotting. This film's kind of the first film that he kind of carried on his own. He was more like a supporting role actor up to this point. Robert Carlyle, again, did bit parts and was just more of like a background character actor. At the time, he would go on to play the super villain Renard in The Rule's Not Enough. Carried a film of The Full Monty. As well as a movie I think is called Formula 51 or something like that. He would go ahead and be Leonardo DiCaprio's imaginary friend in The Beach. He would go on to play one of the main villains, and in my opinion, the coolest character in the CW fantasy series Once Upon a Time. And of course, Johnny Lee Miller. Johnny Lee Miller would come right off of doing Trainspotting to make my favorite cyberpunk sort of like drama film, I guess. Actually, no, take it back. That's right. That's right. He did make Hackers before he did Trainspotting. But Trainspotting, in my opinion, really opened up the door for him too. Now, one more trivia fact, and then I'm just going to wrap this up and get the film a ranking. Here's a little trivia fact that people don't know about Trainspotting. Ilan Brewer, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, the Scottish actor who plays the character of Spud in Trainspotting, actually played the main character, Mark Britton, who was played by Ewan McGregor in the film, played him in the on-stage Broadway play of Trainspotting many times before this movie was made. And one more little trivia fact. Ewan McGregor really wanted to play the character of Mark Britton all the way to the point that he buzzed all his hair off and lost a few pounds so he could look like a heroin addict, so that he could really embrace the role of playing Mark Britton in Trainspotting. So that just shows some pretty cool dedication. All right. Final thoughts for the ranking. I would put Trainspotting, the first film, is anybody who watches movies has to watch this movie. I would put it up there with Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Fight Club, Seven. I would put it up there with all those films, which are films that you have to watch. You're just simply not normal at all if you haven't watched those films. And this is definitely way up there. This is one of those films. Give the film a ranking. Obviously, I'm going to give this film a perfect score because it's literally a perfect movie. It's lived on. And I also might add that marking its 30th anniversary. Actually, is it his 30th or is it his 20th? Let's see. Well, it has an anniversary coming up in this year. So they're actually taking the Criterion 4K restoration of Trainspotting and presenting it at the movie theaters for a limited amount of time, celebrating. Yeah. 30th. Celebrating its 30th anniversary. So we have a 30th anniversary theatrical release going to Cinemark, I believe, this year. So I'm going to go watch it if I have the ability to do it. If you haven't watched Trainspotting before, I would say that's probably the perfect way to watch it. So look at future showings and see if it's showing in your area this year, and go ahead and check it out. I will see you guys next time for my review of the sequel. Until then.